Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Ted Lewis is also.
Good morning.
Well, thank you for this warm welcome. I am really happy being among you today. I want to thank enough Dr. Jani for this invitation and all the work he has done to bring me in. And since I am here, like since yesterday, I have been lecturing for, it's my 5th lecture, I think, today. Yesterday I had 4 lectures. I really enjoyed every moment of my sojourn here. I told him a few minutes before, I went yesterday to this band school. Bland, yeah, with these kids 13, 14 years old. I really enjoyed this moment I spent with them. Talking about Morocco, and they could see in their eyes, they were really enjoying also having an insider from Morocco talking about his country. And yeah, I already got some very interesting questions, not to talk about yesterday lecture also that took last 3 hours. Really intense discussion and nice debate and so on. I hope will be the case today. I will start this talk about Morocco. I would like to present a documentary, 15 minutes, short but really intense. You have really a good job here. This young American did a really good job going through all the, it's highly documented. Everything that is said in this document, of course I check everything. It's really well done. You have an overview in 15 minutes. You know almost everything about Morocco, from geography to economy to political science to sociology to anthropology to everything. So I will show you this video, and I am expecting a lot of questions from you. Thank you. So let's go for it.
Not really Arab much. It's in Africa and not the Middle East, but it borders Spain, literally like 3 times. This is gonna be a fun one. It's time to learn geography now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Most of you may have at least heard of the country Morocco. So many iconic images of Casablanca, the markets of Marrakesh, couscous, and Fez hats. Although they did not originate here, but they totally made it popular. There's a lot going on and a lot of stuff to cover, so let's just find this place on the map first, shall we? For Morocco, they have their own interesting way of doing things, and you kind of have that West Coast Arab vibe. They're kind of like the California of the Arab world, I guess you could say. Oddly enough, they also kind of have the same size and population of California. Anyway, the country is located in the North African region known as the Maghreb. It straddles the Atlantic Ocean to the west and the Mediterranean to the northeast, with a narrow 8-mile wide or 13-kilometer corridor between them and the tip of Spain, known as the Strait of Gibraltar. Even though Gibraltar, an overseas territory of the UK, is here, and the actual closest tip of Spain is here on the town and island of Tarifa. They are bordered by Algeria to the east, and we'll talk about these things in a sec. It's a tricky subject. The country is divided into 12 regions, 3 of which are locked in areas with a confusing dispute, and the capital, Rabat, located along the West Atlantic coast. The largest city, Casablanca, is just a skip away, whereas the next largest cities are Fez, closer inland, while Tangier and Marrakesh have almost identical populations and sometimes switch off for 3rd place. Of course, the busiest airport is Casablanca's Mohammed V International. However, the next busiest are actually Marrakesh and Agadir, both incredibly popular destinations for business and tourism. Now let's get into the good stuff. You guys know how much I love territorial anomalies, and Morocco is loaded with them. First off, context. Morocco has gone through a lot of sovereignty switches. Historically, they were a French protectorate, and parts of it were colonized by the Spanish. The United Nations labels this area as the largest and most populous non-self-governing territory in the world, and in a nutshell, it kind of went like this.
Okay guys, I'm leaving. It seems like you guys are the ones that want this land the most, so I'll let you guys figure it out. See ya.
It's mine.
Mine.
No, it's mine.
What are you talking
No,
about?
dude, it's mine! It's mine! Basically, there was a war between all three sides. Mauritania eventually stepped down, but Morocco kept going. And to this day, about 80% of the land, starting at around the 27th parallel, including almost the entire coast and most of the resources, with a sizable offshore oil deposit, is de facto run by Morocco. Out of the 500,000 residents in this area, only about a fifth live in the Polisario claimed areas, and about 40% alone live in the Moroccan-run city of Laayoune, or El Ayoun. If you move inland, though, you reach the sand berm, a militarized wall in the middle of the sands that separates the SADR separatists from the rest of Morocco. Here you reach the last and probably most intense Moroccan outpost, Gergera, which sits right on the berm wall. And from there, the map literally says no man's land, until you reach the very tip of the Nouadhibou Peninsula that we talked about in the Mauritania episode, and it has an abandoned town called La Guera at the very tip. This is technically the only coastal land that the Polisario Front has in their territorial claim. However, they don't really use it much because most of their imports come in from Mauritania or Algeria. Their headquarters is located in the town of Tindouf. Plus, you know, Morocco is kind of keeping a very close eye on making sure that they don't try anything funny with access to the ocean. If you want to visit Western Sahara, though, you can pretty much only enter from Morocco, and even then, it might get closed off during times of tension. Whereas entrance to the Polisario Front claimed territory is almost impossible to any outsiders. To this day, about 40 countries have diplomatic relations with the SADR. No nation fully recognizes Morocco's full sovereignty over the entire area. However, many do support the idea of Morocco annexing the area as an autonomous, self-governing region under the Kingdom of Morocco. And if that wasn't enough, say hello to Spain's little friends. If you go up north on the Mediterranean, you'll find the Plazas de Soberanía. These are like the last and final remnants of the Spanish Empire in northern Africa scattered along the coast. According to international law, the legality of these areas fall under Spain, as scholars have been able to defend the claim that the modern state of Morocco was founded after these areas were already constitutionally part of Spain, even though Morocco was like...
That's mine.
Really? I mean, this button is literally attached to my shirt.
It's still my button, though.
The two largest entities being the cities of Ceuta, closer to Spain in the west, with a population of about 82,000, and Melilla, a little further east, with a population of about 80,000, and it has its own airport. In addition, you have the 3 Alhucemas Islands, the 3 Chafarinas Islands, and finally, Peñón de Vélez de la Gomera, an incredibly small military outpost only connected by an 85-meter wide sandy isthmus, making it the world's shortest international land border. In addition, 2 more islands fall under disputed territory. There's Isla Perejil, Nube Island, and Isla de Alboran. Whew. Otherwise, I asked you guys, the Moroccan geography peeps, to give us a list of some of the coolest notable sites of Morocco. Some of the stuff you guys mentioned were Badi Castle, the Blue City of Chefchaouen, Jardin Majorel, Mohammed V Mausoleum, the Hercules Cave, Ibn Danan Synagogue, the gates of Fez, and Fez disputedly has the largest car-free urban zone, these ruins of a Roman city, the castle of Meknes, this university, which is like the oldest in the world, the Maronite tombs, and of course, Hassan II Mosque in Casablanca, the 7th largest mosque in the world, and it has the highest minaret in the world. And speaking of things that have height, Morocco has some amazing mountains, which brings us to... Now, people tend to think that northern Africa is all sand, but when you head west, they have more rocks in Morocco. Man, I haven't done a slap gig in a long time. Thank you, Anna. First of all, the country lies right on the boundary where the African plate meets the Eurasian plate, with the Atlas thrust fault lines cutting through the country just at the very northern tip at the Rift Mountains. This also creates the other 3 mountain chains, the Middle Atlas, the Anti-Atlas, and the High Atlas, where the tallest peak and tallest in North Africa can be found, Toubkal. Also, you can find the largest lake, the Bin El Ouidan Reservoir, and the source of the longest river, the Dra River, which flows all the way into the Atlantic. If you include Western Sahara down south, you get more dry and empty vast desert land with a decent mineral deposit used for mining. Basically, the coastal areas north of the mountains where the majority of the population lives are of course flatter and arable with more lush vegetation. Sometimes it even snows in the high altitudes. Morocco even has the largest ski resort in Africa, whereas everything south of that is pretty much dry, rocky, and hot. Alright, and that's that. Now it's time for my triple shot of espresso break like usual, which means Noah comes...
Did somebody say Noah? Yeah, despite the arid terrain, Morocco actually has quite a comfortable set of natural resources. About 18% of the land is arable and about 12% of the country is forested. The country also has a wide range of biodiversity. Many are endemic like gazelles, boars, and fennec foxes, over 90 species of reptiles, and macaque monkeys. And yes, you may have seen the pictures of those tree-climbing goats. Yep, they do exist. They are found here as well, mostly in the town of Tamri. Unfortunately, due to illegal animal trade and human intervention, much of the species are disappearing, and some, like the national symbol of Morocco, the Barbary lion, have gone extinct in the area. The last one was seen in 1922. Otherwise, Morocco is a 5th largest economy in Africa by GDP per person parity. The service industry jobs, mostly in mining, take the largest chunk of the workforce. I mean, they do hold about 75% of the world's known phosphorus mines. Nonetheless, they are still a heavily agrarian-dependent nation as the sector employs about 40% of the populace. It is said that Morocco has the largest fish market in Africa, taking about 3% of their entire GDP, and they are the largest exporter of sardines in the world. Finally, little interesting side note, even though it's illegal to smoke it, they are the top exporter of legally grown cannabis in the world, sold in the form of hashish. On average, they produce about 70% of Europe's imports. Speaking of resources, food. Some top dishes you guys, the Moroccan geography peeps mentioned, include things like anything cooked in a tantine pot, bafista, harira soup, pastilla, sefa, bruzia, mashui, and of course the national dish of couscous. Everyone knows this one. And sweets like these amazing things. And finally, you cannot go around Morocco without stumbling upon their favorite drink, mint tea. Oh, and Morocco is pretty much the only country that produces and exports argan oil. It is used in a variety of ways, sometimes in food, sometimes in cosmetics, or hair products.
It's pretty much the only thing that controls my hair.
And speaking of things with hair, people, let's get to it, shall we?
That was a good transition, wasn't it? People, because people have hair.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, you wrote it.
Yeah.
So,
You said it good. In the Arab world, Morocco is kind of seen as like the strange cousin that got brought into the family by marriage. Most Moroccans probably wouldn't even identify as Arab. Let's explain. First of all, the country has about 36 million people and has the largest native Berber Amazigh community in all of Africa. It's hard to get exact estimates, but the censuses say that somewhere around 41 to 80% of the entire population has Berber Amazigh ancestry, whether it be full or partial, whereas 90% are non-Berber identifying Arabs. The remaining 1% are made up of other groups, mostly French and Spanish, as well as West African immigrants. They use the Moroccan dirham as their currency, they use the type C and E plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. And on that note, what is Berber/Amazigh? Now, we've talked about this in quite a few other videos before, but basically, in a nutshell, they are the native indigenous semi-nomadic peoples that have inhabited various regions of North Africa prior to Arab conquests. They have a completely different story and background from Arabs. They have their own traditions, customs, art, clothing, and language. Today, Berber/Amazigh is an official language alongside Arabic in both Morocco and Algeria, and it can be written in both the Latin and Neo-Tifina script, which looks awesome. It looks like dancing people, and you can find it on street signs and billboards all over. That being said, most metropolitan Moroccans are trilingual, growing up with both languages and a European one as a third, mostly French. They were a French protectorate at one point. Keith, if I asked you to ask all the Arabs around the world which country they probably think has the weirdest dialect, which one do you think they'd say?
Well, considering I think this is the Moroccan episode we're on, right? So I'm gonna go Moroccan.
Yep.
Is that all you need me for?
Yeah, I mean, you just need more screen time because the subscribers love you.
All right, well, I'm going to go awkwardly dance in the back, so I will...
I don't see why not. Moroccans speak Arabic with a distinct dialect known as Darija, very hard to understand from a standard speaker, and some say it could even be classified as its own language. Much of it is influenced off of Berber/Amazigh. For example, here's one of our subscribers from Morocco explaining.
So, hello, I am Ali from Tangier, Morocco, and I'm going to tell you the difference between Arabic and Moroccan dialect. Like, I am going to that place near the market. In Arabic it would be like سأذهب لذلك المكان بجوار المحل. But in Moroccan dialect it is something just like أنا أنشدك بلاصة الحانوت.
Wow. On another note, Morocco is also a monarchy, a kingdom ruled under Mohammed VI, claiming to be a direct descendant of the Islamic prophet Mohammed. He belongs to the Alawite dynasty, the second oldest ruling dynasty in the world after Japan's Yamato imperial family. The country's state religion is Islam. The vast majority, at about 99%, identify as adhering to the faith, mostly in the Sunni branch, and the remainder are mostly Christians and a small Jewish community. Speaking of which, Morocco used to have the largest Jewish population in the Arab world, some estimates claiming to be up to 350,000. After war times of the 20th century, though, nearly all of them either fled or were expelled, most heading to Israel, and today Moroccan Jews make up the second largest Jewish ethnic subgroup in Israel, and today less than 3,000 remain in Morocco. Culturally speaking, Moroccans have a very vibrant background, most of which being Berber Amazigh influenced. Keep in mind though, there are many different types of Berber Amazigh peoples and tribes. Some are light-skinned, some are dark-skinned, some have different customs, but overall there are some universal traits that they all kind of share. You know what, Hannah? Come on in, just take this one. You know, why not?
Okay, prior to the spread of Islam, most Berber/Amazigh were traditionally animists that practiced things like ancestor veneration. Facial and body tattoos were common a long time ago amongst women, with each image symbolizing something important, but the practice has been dying out since the 1940s, and today you can only find it mostly amongst the elderly. The national dress for both men and women, a unisex scarf, is called jalaba, a long, loose hooded garment which serves to keep the person warm but also protected from the sun. Moroccan architecture and literature is unique in itself. The high-walled dar structure is common to help ward off thieves and animals while minimizing heat. Metalwork, textiles, and pottery are of course world-renowned. Much of the traditional music incorporates a fusion of Arab and Berber/Amazigh undertones, with a touch of French and maybe Andalusian Spanish.
Jeez, this list is getting pretty long. Ken, what else do we have to cover?
Let's see. There's the fortune teller thing, the hammam baths house, the Rif Independence thing, the weird dentist where you can find in the marketplace.
Yeah, we don't have time. Let's just save it for Fan Friday. Thank you, Hannah. I'll do the history part now. For Morocco's history, in the quickest way I can condense it: the state of Carthage, independent Berber kingdoms, Roman Empire, Muslim conquests, Berber revolt, first Moroccan state under this dynasty. These dynasties come in, which are responsible for Muslim Spain. Reconquista occurs. These dynasties. Finally, the Alawite dynasty, which is the current one. First Moroccan crisis, the Treaty of Fez, independence, Green March, Arab Spring, and here we are today. I asked you guys, the Moroccan geography peeps, for a list of some famous Moroccans, whether they are partial or fully Moroccan. Some people you mentioned were historical figures like Ibn Rushd or Averroes, Ibn Tashfin, Ibn Battuta, Princess Dia, Tariq Ibn Ziyad. Contemporaries like Samira Said, Saad Lamjared, Badr Hari, Marian Shadid, Mehdi Banatia, Otman Benjaloun, Gad El Maleh, Red One, French Montana, Edith Piaf, yeah, she was part Moroccan, technically kind of David Guetta, Hicham Gerouj, and of course the Moroccan royal family. Whew, yeah, Morocco has quite a lot of interesting people and backstory. No wonder why they have such a unique set of friends. See what I did there? It's a transition into the... Now, Morocco's proximity to Europe and access to the Atlantic has always meant that they had way more exposure to the Western world than most of their cousins, which has played a crucial role in their diplomacy. For one, they were the first country in the world to recognize the USA as a country. Yeah, Morocco. During the Revolution times, Sultan Mohammed III in 1777 said any American merchant ship in his trade routes were under his protection. And in 1786, they signed the Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship, which is actually the oldest friendship treaty in the USA. With Spain, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship, as they do great business and have history, but there's always the exclave thing. Saudi Arabia is like a close friend that typically supports and funds many projects and deals in Morocco. Morocco sent troops to help Saudi Arabia during the Gulf War, and the two kings get along pretty well. When it comes to their best friends, however, it's interesting because most Moroccans I have talked to have actually said France. Despite the past colonial issues, they've moved on, and France does the most business with Morocco. French is widely spoken. Both countries' peoples are always visiting or moving to each other. France has the highest Moroccan population outside of Morocco, and today they work together beautifully. In conclusion, Morocco is kind of like the uncle that married into the Arab family. It's probably one of the most beautiful places to visit in the Arab world, but maybe not the best place to learn what it truly means to be Arabic. Stay tuned, Mozambique is coming up next.
I hope you enjoyed this documentary, highly condensed the rest of the country. So, the decolonization process, we got back the French zone and one a part, the biggest part of the north, as you could see in the documentary, they still have enclaves in the north and the Sahara. We got back one part from Sahara. There's a 1971, I think, but the Sahara was still under Spanish until 75, until Franco died, and then we got back his territory. But the problem here was about the link with Algeria. The Algerians, the regime at this epoch, as I said, they were Morocco regime and Algeria were enemies since the independence because they made different geopolitical choices. Morocco added to US and Europe, and Algeria to the Soviet Empire. So this enmity that kept going on until 75, when Morocco
was about to get back in Sahara, the Algerians said no. These people need independence, their self-determination, and so on. It's a decolonization process, and so on and so forth. So they bring in the Polisario, this liberation movement. These people, I know some of them. They were with me at the university in 1971. They were Moroccan. The first leader of the Polisario movement, called Mustafa Al-Wali. His father, they are from Marrakesh. His father is still living in Marrakesh. He died, Mustafa, but his father is Morocco, he's Moroccan. So these young men were revolutionary at this epoch, for revolution in Morocco. They didn't want the monarchy, they wanted, they wanted, especially they wanted to liberate the Sahara, armed struggle, 1960, 70. So the Moroccan state said, we are negotiating with Spanish to get back our Sahara in a peaceful way. See, so these young men went to Algeria. So Algerians embraced them, they helped them, and so on. As I said, Algeria was the mecca of revolutionary movement around the world. So, as I said, you see, it's more of a geopolitical conflict than a traditional decolonization and so on. Still, this issue is in the United Nations anyway. It's in the United Nations. And right now, there is a negotiation going on between Morocco and this Polisario liberation movement and so on and so forth. You see here, what's going on in Algeria is, as I said, Algerians are fed up. They are not after, I mean, you know, what we call Arab Spring. You know, it started in Algeria. It started in Algeria. The Algerians really rise up. They were the first to rise up to claim for more democracy. Just they wanted democracy because Algeria is not a poor country. It's an oil producing country. They are really rich. It's the redistribution of wealth that is really the issue. Because they got one party, unique party, that is deciding for their lives since the independence. So the Algerians wanted more democracy. They rise up. They end up in civil war. You see, so now the Algerians, they don't want to go back to the civil war. That's why they didn't move during the Arab Spring. Morocco, we had our way of protesting, of wanting more, going outside and protesting all over the place, saying, yeah, we want more democracy, more, and so on. But the Algerians, they stayed calm because they don't want the experience. It means a civil war. They lost like 200,000 people. So you see, now it's far more peaceful. It's really peaceful, even comparing with France, which France is also going through the Gilets jaunes movement for like 3 months now. And it's violent. Sometimes it's really violent. So in Algeria, they rise up, but really peaceful. So I hope it stays this way. We hope it stays this way. So please.
Back to Morocco.
Sorry.
How did the events of 2011, the Arab Spring, what were the changes brought about to Morocco from that? I know, understand the protest started in Algeria and spread it outward.
Yeah.
But how was Morocco personally affected, or how were you personally affected by
Good question.
events?
Morocco is the king. He just got it immediately because he saw Mubarak went on, Tunisian president thrown out, and so on. And so he understood it's a serious business here. So he just said, okay, I get you. A constitutional reform. We got a constitutional reform from Arab Spring. Which means the king gave back some of his powers to we used to have a prime minister. Now we have president of the government, which means he got more power to run things. So this is the main consequence, if you want, for Morocco. It's a constitutional reform, which is not nothing. Starting with the acknowledgement of the Berber as an official national language next to Arabic. Now we have two official languages, Arabic and Amazigh, which is not nothing. They have been claiming for acknowledged reconnaissance of their language, their identity, and so on for a long, long time. So they got this done. And as I said, sharing, power sharing, which is not nothing too. So that's, please.
First, I'd like to start off saying thank you for coming and talking to us about Morocco.
Thank you.
My question is, what kind of healthcare system do you guys have?
Oh, good question too. This is one of the issues, really social issues, hot ones, because since independence, had health it's a ministry of health. It's a state business. It's like a welfare state. We started with the model at this epoch, the welfare state. Yeah, but for the welfare state, you need money. So the Algerians, for instance, because the money, they have money. So the Algerians benefited from schooling, healthcare, everything. The state is paying for everything. We didn't have this option. So situation really very difficult, especially in the remote areas, mountains, south deserts and so on. Really hard for them. So at a given moment, I mean, we started having really big problems. In some regions, we have starting to have some epidemic and things like that. So it's then that with the help, of course, with the United Nations and friendly countries, the US also, and France and Europe, they started really helping, giving hand. A lot of money went to healthcare, and they started really having a plan, a program, which is going more or less in the right direction. But I would say more, because now we have 8 million Moroccan. They have for a few years now. They have this card, special card, that allow them at least access to the hospitals and to see a doctor. Now, if it is a minor thing, they need to buy their medicine themselves. They have access, they have the diagnosis, everything. But they need, when it comes to medicine, they have to buy it by themselves. If it is a serious issue, then it's the state that surgery, everything. Then it's the state thing cover for this. So it's improving, I would say. The situation is not really good, but it is improving, I would say. I mean, from objectively speaking, I can see the difference in half-century independence, 21st years, and situation right now. Now it's really improving. Even, and I'm talking about remote areas, so they have nothing. Now they have, at least you can find in any village, you can find what you call dispensaire, a health center, where people can go at least to have a diagnosis and check, and on the spot they have maybe some medicine, but at least they have the diagnosis, and they can be sent to another small town or the urban center where they have a real hospital, and they get what they need. So this issue is really important, but I would say it is improving. I must acknowledge it is improving. With this 10 years now, this new policy of having 8 million Moroccans are benefiting from it. Otherwise, we have private, of course, the private and the state sector. Mm-hmm.
The region in
Sorry, yeah, please.
the region in Morocco that was separated. I apologize, I didn't remember what you spoke on. The name of that region, the part that was separated from the main.
Sahara, you mean? No. Are you talking about the south, Sahara, Western Sahara, or you are talking about the enclaves, Spanish enclaves in Morocco? Ceuta, Melilla.
You spoke about in the video. It spoke about a sand barrier, more or less.
Yeah. You are talking Sahara. Yeah, you are talking. Yeah, as I said. Yeah,
for the people that live in that region, are they still have access to the health care as well?
Oh yeah.
So it's the same thing no matter where it's
Oh, they are privileged because partly because. Let's first determine how much how the population living there. How many? So when the Spanish left in '75, there were the total population of the Western Sahara was 75,000. This is Spanish statistics. 75,000, 77,000. That was the population. Now they are 500 million, because since Morocco considered it Moroccan territory since '75, everybody is free to move there. So a lot of Moroccans, Sahrawi people who before the independence, if you are a decolonization process, they were living within Morocco. So they moved from Morocco proper to this Western Sahara, this territory. Plus Moroccans for different reasons who moved in the Sahara. Why? Because, of course, Morocco, when they get back this territory, they take care of these people. Why? Because not all these 75,000 people remain in the Sahara. A lot of them moved to Algeria, like 20% of them, 25% moved to Algeria, because this liberation, Polisario Liberation Front and so on, and with the help of Algeria, of course, they moved them into Algerian territory, but next to the Sahara. Of course, because they need to have independence for people, for Sahrawi people, they need to have these people, because all of them, they were under Moroccan administration. They needed to show. So they got this 25%, I think, of this population in Algeria. So you can understand, Morocco tried to do the best, of course, to keep people quiet and the prices of goods in Sahara are cheaper, are really cheaper. They're subventioned, funded by the state. You can buy anything there cheaper than in the rest of Morocco. Gas oil, food, everything is cheaper. You see, and healthcare, they have really. I went there twice. They are really the logistics is there, hospitals, everything is there. They are privileged to the point where Moroccans in the interior, they said, we are fed up. 30 years now, they are benefiting from cheap gas oil, cheap goods, and so on. You see, they started resenting, if you want, resenting somehow the privilege of the Sahrawi population there. But it's not anymore Sahrawi. You could have 500,000, which means, yeah, it's a mix. It's just Moroccans in their diversity. So people living there from Sahara, from the south, or even from the north. So 35 years now. So it's that's why even the Polisario still living in these camps in Algeria. They were living with the help of Algeria, but also the help of a lot of other countries for humanitarian reason and so on. But a lot of these people now, countries, they are saying humanitarian, yeah, what's the problem here? I mean, they know, it's a geopolitical conflict, in fact. It's Morocco and Algeria. Because you see, you just look at the geography over there. You have what? You have Tunisia, small country. Libya, not to talk about, because, I mean, in terms of population, you have 1 million, 1.5 million. Senegal, Niger, I mean, a small country. The biggest countries are Morocco and Algeria. So they are, everyone wants to be the boss of the region. It's a geopolitical conflict, classic one that you have everywhere.
Last question.
Yeah,
Last
please.
question.
Yeah, please.
Who does water conservation fall on? Considering that this is the Sahara, and I'm sure that Morocco gives subsidies to people who want to move there.
Yeah.
Who does water conservation fall upon?
Oh yeah, let me tell you, I visited this, how do you call it? Assainissement, use ocean water.
Desalination plant.
Desalination plant, yeah. There is one built by the Japanese, by the way, in the south. And they got it's really costly, you know. It costs very, very, very high. So they have this one. It's a huge investment. So there's no shortage of water in Sahara, as one can expect or can imagine. No. I'm not saying they have fun. They have swimming pool. Believe me, they have swimming pool. I went there. So, please, sir.
Does Morocco have quite a large young population in comparison? The demographics there, I know in the Maghreb, Tunisia, Algeria, and I suppose Morocco as well, there's quite a large number of young people, and the employment is just not there for them. Is that a big issue in Morocco as well?
Same situation. Same situation. Structural. Same situation, because if we see the demographic structures in Morocco, it's the same. 60% of the population are under 35. The category 20 years old, this category represents, which means less than 20, it means schooling, housing, health, and so on. A huge demand that is not satisfied because, the demographics, I mean, they are like, in Morocco, 6 million are under 20.
Doesn't this add to the unrest? I mean, if you're young and you can't find a job, or if you can't get housing, you can't get married, you can't have a family, and you have a lot of young people
trying to flee. They cross the Mediterranean, either they died or they make it. And now we don't have only Moroccans, Algerians, and you have sub-Sahara countries, sub-Sahara young people coming, going through the Sahara and coming stuck in Morocco. We have thousands of them stuck in Morocco. So we don't have only our problem, we have also, we are in the same situation that Mexico here, exactly the same. I have one of my students, by the way, Mexican student who did a great PhD, comparing the situation in Mexico, the US. When I say Mexico, I'm talking about the migratory system, Latin America, North America. Like over there, we have Africa, Europe. It's another migratory system that is, as you know, we have 4 international migratory systems in the world. So we are, there is an analogy, if you want, analogy between the situation here and the situation there. It's demographics, and as you know, demography is economy. Please, sir.
As far as the economy goes and the finances, where would you say that most of the financial gain comes from? As far as outside influence, would you say it's tourism? Would you say it's trade?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say. I mean, we don't have oil, which means we have to rely on resources, other resources than oil. So Morocco is one, phosphates. We are the first exporter, second producer after the US. We are the first exporter. We have roughly $4 billion for phosphate every year. Okay, we have as much for tourism. Well, a touristic country. We have 4 billion from Moroccan migrants. We have 3 million living abroad. They send money. 4 billion. Roughly, I mean, roughly. We are exporter of vegetables and fruits. Roughly 2 billion. And sardine, we had first exporter in the world. I bought sardine in Washington State, Morocco. We are exporter of fish because we have the Mediterranean and the Atlantic. So we export mainly to Europe. Roughly 2 billion, 2, 3 billion. Okay, we are 12, 15 billion. Okay. What's more? Yeah, we have also other mines, other things, and wheat. wheat. We export wheat to hashish. 70% go to Europe, and it's money. By the way, to take care of Algeria, the Algerians say, oh, Morocco, they are sending hashish drugs into our country. We don't need to send it. They don't need to send it. The Algerian came in to take the hashish from Morocco to sell it on this. A lot of Algerians are making a living out of it. A lot from the east. So that is anecdotic. But it's money. It's not an official money. I mean, there is no statistics. You can follow the money, but it's there. It's there. I mean, we have this money, and we have 100,000 at least making a living out of this thing. So that's all we have as resources that's all we have. And we have also the international cooperation. So the country are sending some money, helping in different. That's how we live. That's how we live. That's all. Sorry. Okay.
I wanted to thank you for addressing my question, but the second half of the question was related to the correlation between colonization and immigration. And I think that for me to talk about Morocco, we need to see the whole geographical unit of what constitutes Morocco, Algeria, because that has been the most sort of relevant historical situation between these two countries.
Yeah.
And I cannot separate that as sort of unit. But the video did not address anything about women's position in society in Morocco.
But that was not their purpose. Their purpose was to give an overview, and they did a really great job.
But what do you think about
This is an issue. This is a topic interesting in itself. Of course, I was asked about this issue of women's status in society several times since I came here, and it is, of course, a very important one. We are talking about half of the population here. We are not talking about a minority. Women are half of the population. I mean. But still they are like on the real life, they are like a minority. They are like a minority. They are treated like a minority. They are not only like a minority, but they are minors. They are treated. Women are treated in our societies like minors. Not fully adults. I mean, not fully subject of. We have this problem. It's just, on one hand, I believe women share this situation all over the world. I mean, see, this is not perfect for women anywhere. Anywhere. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the situation is better from Germany up to Norway and so on. Yeah, situation I think is better there for women.
Access to education.
I was about to come to this issue. We were talking from macro sociological level. Then on the micro level, we can talk about it. On the micro level, as I said, women share situation in patriarchal society. We are talking about patriarchal all over the place. Now, on macro level, indeed, I can say I am born in 1951. independence 57. So I went to school at the independence. We were a classroom, we were 80% boys. 80%. More, 90% boys. Very few girls. When I went to the university in Rabat, 1970-71, 1/3 girls, 2/3 boys. I have been teaching in this same university for 35 years now. I go back, half-half. It just means, it's the same situation in high school, primary school, and so on. It just means there is progress going on here. Change, there is a change, social change going on here. So, which means that women are having more and more access to education. And that's a fact, and that's a fact. More in Algeria, by the way. More in Algeria, they are doing far better than Morocco. As I said, it's because also the money. Money. They're not paying for everything. Everything. So, this is my response. There is huge progress. We are not yet, still have a long way to go. When thinking here about remote areas, the mountains, the remote areas in the south, the desert Sahara and so on, they don't have really, all of them, they don't have access, if you want, full access to education, health, and so on and so forth. It is coming, it is coming. I'm sorry for that, but you need to wait more, maybe coming decades, situation will change. But it is changing, that's for sure. As I said, I mean, you go to the university or the schools, Moroccan schools, primary, everything, I would say half-half. In some universities, healthcare and so on, you have more women than, but this is not new. We have it even here and in Europe. It comes to healthcare and so on, you have more women than men. As I said, our patriarchal societies and so on. Thank you.
You want to show the wedding video?
Oh yeah, I want to show you, the small video. Maybe
I can get to it.
Because we were talking about culture, society and culture and so on, and